Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be talking about the upcoming Scorpio new moon. This is quite a potent one and a little bit volatile as well, I must say. So I want to walk you through. First of all, it's going to be happening on the 13th of November, and it's going to be on 20 degree of Scorpio. So in the third decan, and the third decan is a Cancerian decan of the Scorpio sign. So it's worth thinking about how we can bring the Scorpio and the Cancer together. So Scorpio is about transformation. Cancer is, for example, property businesses. So it's the changes what is coming when it comes to real estate industry, when it comes to the big world. But of course, Cancer can represent, for example, such things as your home country. So, what type of changes your home country is actually going through? On top of that, this could talk to you about the changes you have to make in your family settings, what changes you need to be making when it comes to emotional security, what makes me feel safe, what does happiness mean to me? Now, it will be interesting, by the way, because there is an asteroid very tied to this new moon called Hopi. And Hopi, interesting name. I don't want to go into it too much, but it does resemble hope, right? By the way, this asteroid is all about peace. So it feels like you're gonna have to figure out how to find inner peace. But of course, in the world, it could really indicate that it's time to make peace. So I have been saying it for a while, but I believe that at the end of November, there will be some type of peace made. Um, or at least initiations will be happening when it comes to the war situations. However, it might not be that easy. Probably it comes with a little bit of an argument. But we are running forward. So, first of all, Scorpio 20 degree. By the way, Mars is there as well. So, the dispositor of this new moon is Mars, which is going to be opposing Uranus. So, I really want to walk you through. And there is also Ceres there. So, let's see what is a Scorpio new moon, first of all. I mean, it is about transformation. So, whether you transform your life, and you start thinking about how to do that. What system do I need to put together to make my life better? Or doing some type of emotional death, meaning that something you have to give up and then you have to open up the door to new possibilities. So this transformation could happen on an emotional or physical level as well. With Scorpio, often we need to let go of something. And it's very necessary to let go of something if we want to heal. So often Scorpio, which is a fixed sign, so we tend to be holding in something. And when you hold in something, it's just going to be digesting you inside out. So there is an element of a trauma healing coming with um, Scorpio. However, if we are stubborn and we do not want to do that, then of course it can actually start kicking our butts as well. And because Mars is there, it's gonna force us. It's kind of like Mars is the knife, right? So it's gonna open up some type of old wounds here, and it can hurt a lot. But when we face the fears, when we face these old traumas, then it allows us to set us free. I mean, it's interesting that Mars is opposing Uranus, which is about freeing up someone from something. So it's trying to free us up from any type of pain. So that's one keyword for Scorpio, right? The other one is to embrace our own power. So it's very important that we realize that we are all powerful beings and we can do whatever we want. However, Scorpio often is about being too pessimistic. And then we tend to be sweeping things under the carpet. and we forget about, um, the death and rebirth process. And on top of that, of course, Pluto or Scorpio is a financial sign. So it represents wealth as well. Of course, this is happening on the Taurus and Scorpio axis. And typically, at least about a good 85% of the times when Uranus and Mars are meeting in a difficult position, it brings so much challenges financially to the financial world. So we should be expecting such things as the collapse of banking systems, or maybe it's just going to be an investment opportunity, by the way, because, for example, some of the stocks are going to be dropping significantly, or cryptocurrency and so forth. I mean, Uranus would rule cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So probably we're going to see a little bit of a lows with those. And that's, on one hand, it's great, right? Because it's an investment opportunity for many, but others are, might be just scared a little bit and they start taking out their investments, which is causing further chaos. Remember that Uranus is chaotic. So we start being scared and then we make very reckless decisions with Uranus and Mars. So we need to be very careful with that. Also, Scorpio can represent sexuality as well as something to do with trust or intimacy department. So that can become a little bit more of a enhanced topic for you in your life. Now, you might realize that the intimacy is not working in your relationship. I tend to be looking at Scorpio very significantly when it comes to relationship department, because Scorpio is, for me, is the representation of the relationship after the honeymoon period in the marriage has passed, and then how we deal with the relationship department. But yeah, some people tend to be looking at Scorpio as the tantric side of sex or eroticism or stuff like that. But I tend to be looking at Scorpio just how we spice up our sexual life when it comes to the end of the honeymoon period, when intimacy might become a little bit boring. And Uranus and Mars opposition is also an invitation that something needs to be spiced up. With Uranus, we need to try something new. And we need to be putting our stubbornness aside that, oh, phooey, I'm not going to do that, and these type of things. So it's a daring aspect with Mars and Uranus. And of course, Scorpio talks about occultism as well. It's a sign which tends to do research on topics, and it's looking for the meaning of the depth in certain topics. But also it would talk to us about anything to do with energy healing and so forth. So maybe some of your healing could be coming from a certain type of energy healing, or maybe hypnotherapy as well, because you go deep down. It's about searching something which you are unable to talk about because maybe it's not part of your memory either. And it's interesting that this Scorpio new moon is happening on Cancerian dwart. Cancer rules your memories. Maybe with the Scorpio and Cancer, you need to transform some of your family traditions. I mean, we are coming up to Christmas. That could be kind of like a good remedy for it. Maybe you have been fed up with certain type of traditions, and then now you want to make certain element of changes with that. But maybe it's Scorpio could be a divination tool or sign as well, such as tarot readings or shamanism, or even to a certain extent astrology as well. So you might start being interested in that. Remember that new moon is about integrating new habits into your life. So that would be the general side of the Scorpio new moon. So let's have a look at what aspect the new moon has. By the way, I am going to be doing the retreat in Mexico in February, 5th of February. So if that's something you are interested in, please check it out on my website. I'm going to be teaching you predictive techniques and how to bring those predictive techniques together. So I would love to see you there. And this is discounted until the end of November. So check it out. Now, let's have a look at the aspects of that new moon. So first of all, we do have got Mars in a very tight conjunction to the luminaries. It's pretty much just 2 degrees, less than 2 degrees apart. So obviously Mars is extremely strong here because it's in rulership. On top of that, it has got triplicity rulership as well. So it's a 150% strong planet. And a strong planet pretty much indicates that it has got all the resources to do what it wants to do. If Mars wants peace with Hopi, then you know what? It has got all the tools to do that. But obviously, we have got Uranus poking Mars, which is, as we said, the planet of chaos, but also revolution and innovation and so forth. So it's kind of like encouraging Mars to get a little bit angry. And that's the problem. And when Mars is really angry, then it is really angry. Now, obviously, it happens in the sign of Scorpio, which can be quite pretty much about revenge as well. So the question here is that do we want to take revenge on someone because we do not feel secure, Cancerian what, in our own skin? Obviously, we have got a new moon, which is about new beginnings. So can this indicate, for example, that we're going to have some type of, let's say, revolution in certain countries, maybe within the country, maybe with someone else? Right? But there is some type of anger here. It could indicate with Mars and Moon that people are angry, frustrated, and with Uranus, we go on the streets, for example. Mars is the warrior. So it wants to protect, it wants to serve. And here it happens on the financial axis. So what can trigger Mars here is financial insecurities, but on top of that, that my, property or my, I don't know, money is taken away, or I feel like I am endangered somehow financially and so forth. So Mars can get frustrated here. Of course, as we said, Mars is also something to do with sexuality as well. So it's very possible that you just want to rip up those, bed sheets with your partner and so forth. Of course, we have got Uranus on the other side of the story. And that is pretty tight as well. Actually, it's just a half a degree orb there. So Uranus is about, first of all, Uranus always wants you to know your special gifts. So it wants you to embrace that we are all special, we are all unique, we all have got talents. Um, so ask yourself the question, what is your specialty when it comes to entrepreneurship with that Mars? What is your special talent to make money? What is your special talent when it comes to intimacy department? These could be some of the positive things you might want to be thinking about. Also, definitely Uranus always wants us to make a radical change in our lives. Even if we have got two left feet, somehow we're going to have to go right. And this is difficult for Scorpio and Taurus because these are fixed signs. They are one of the most stubborn ones. But also, Uranus is intuition. So often what happens is that with Mars, something is trying to poke poke or it's getting pried up. So with Uranus, it's kind of like it's intuitive hit what we are experiencing. Uranus is the sky, right? So we download something from up above. It's a very futuristic planet. So we tend to see where the future is leading us. So this new moon is actually pretty much talking to you about whatever is going to be happening with you or in the world, that something is going to be going down in the next 1 year. We might start seeing that in just a year time, for example. So probably you will be quite intuitive as well. Now, because Uranus and Mars are opposing, often this intuition is not pleasant. And you cannot distinguish whether, it's an intuition or just something is trying to come up from your subconscious. But let's be optimistic, right? Let's use that Uranian um, talent here, which would definitely talk to you about exploring your talent when it comes to making money, for example, even using your own talent to make certain type of connections. Because Uranus also talks about the group spirit as well. So, what groups do I belong to? Am I actually possessed by others, or am I my own boss? This could be a topic you might want to be thinking about. So, of course, this new moon is surely about awakening your own power. Often, what happens with Uranus and Mars that we become volatile, even we become dangerous with it. And then we start expressing our darker side, our darker energies, because your survival is questioned here. And of course, when you want to be protecting Mars, your wounds, Scorpio, and Uranus comes into your life and brings that chaos, which is triggering you to remember Cancerian what? Your wounds. Then all of a sudden you go into a defense mechanism, you try to cope with it. So we can become volatile with that. So unfortunately, some people might experience sexual abuse. In the world, you might start seeing that some people are abusing their own power. For example, imagine a situation where a banking manager is going to be stealing, for example, money from people, or even the prime minister does that. Because what is power nowadays? It's about money and sex, pretty much, in my opinion. So that could be abused. Or Uranus represents explosion. And with Mars, which is about rage, all of a sudden we all become very rageful about it. And we're going to start banging the door of the prime minister, for example. So these are some of the big situations or topics which we might be expecting in the next 3 months with this new moon. But at least in the next 1 month, 4 weeks. Now, we do have got Ceres there as well on 24 degrees. So we have got a 4 planetary conjunction here. And Ceres is typically about food industry, but also it's on a personal level, this would talk to you about the way you nurture yourself. And of course, it's going to represent your own family as well. Ceres is about depression too. Remember that her daughter got abducted and she took revenge, first of all. She brought hunger to Earth, and eventually Zeus had to calm her down. So it could represent people being depressed. It could represent that people are actually hungry. We might start seeing that type of topic as well, that people are going to talk about that we are running out of certain type of resources. People do not have anything to eat, certain parts of the world. These might be headlines, for example, in newspapers. But Ceres had to go through an element of healing also. Um, And she did that by making a kind of like a negotiation with Pluto that her daughter is going to spend half a year with her and half a year with Pluto. So that became the solution. So it is coming with a solution here, this new moon. But as I said at the beginning, it's a challenging solution where with Uranus and Mars, we're going to hit heads, and we might not see eye to eye, and someone is going to raise their voice, for example, on these meetings and so forth. But most likely, these meetings might be happening behind closed doors. I would like to mention that as well. By the way, this new moon Oh, and on top of that, series is also about abundance as well, because I mentioned to you that it's about agriculture, grains, and growing things. Obviously, in order for us to grow vegetables and so forth, we need rain and so forth. We need the ideal temperature. So this might and series rules for season. So seasonal changes, we might see a very, very cold period of time coming up. Maybe it's going to be an extremely cold winter, or at least the next 1 month, the weather conditions might be way too all over the place. We might unfortunately see some natural disasters with this Uranus and Mars as well. Most likely, I would say this would be earthquakes. That might be something we see coming up. We have got some great aspects as well to this new moon, and one of them is a trine from Neptune. So, on a personal level, this is definitely about having a spiritual approach to something or being extremely creative. But at the same time, Neptune can tell you to stay put, to stay away from any of the drama, what is happening around you. If no need to get involved, then try to do that and do something spiritual or creative instead. But also, there is an element of utopia with Neptune as well, because of course, Neptune is the planet of illusions and dreaming. So it's about dreaming about a better future. So, of course, there could be an element of a danger of being in La La Land, but dreaming is an element of a hope. And when you have hope, then it just, that you are not that pessimistic anymore. Now, the fact that this new moon is ruled by Mars and being opposed by Uranus, it can also indicate that we really badly want to push something forward. So, with the new moon, we want to start something fresh. And of course, we can be very headstrong about it, and then we forget to check out the circumstances. Scorpio is also about control, a laser focus on something. So you might become very focused on starting a new project, to start fresh, for example. I mean, a new moon is always going to be about the beginning of a new cycle. So there are opportunities to start fresh. Just don't make any rash decision. Because with Scorpio, we become passionate about something, we get tested as well, or we start probing others. And it might be very difficult to accept other people's perspective. On a spiritual level, Scorpio is definitely about self mastery because you dig in as deep as possible to figure bits and bobs out of to figure out bits and bobs about yourself. But the danger of that we can become obsessed with it. That's the reason why Scorpio rules obsessions also. So this new moon might want to free you up from any type of emotional burdens or obsessions or even bad habits as well. But maybe it also prompting you to explore something. It's kind of like, for me, Scorpio is kind of like the puzzle. You are trying to find the missing piece, the missing information. So how to, but in order for us to find the missing piece, we're gonna have to go as deep as possible. So you might want to attend a healing session or hypnotherapy and so forth to explore in what ways you have become self-destructive. What are your bad habits? Scorpio is the waste bin. So it just indicates that something needs to be gone. Think about the junk food, or think about, that there needs to be an element of a clearing out. And maybe with that series, we just want to be clearing out our own pantries. Do we have anything which gone off there? Let's put it in the bin. Let's make space to something new to enter our lives. The Taurus Scorpio axis also talks to you about your values. So, how can you align yourself, or how can you align your own values with other people's values? And if you meet someone and they say something to you, and then you might not believe in that, there needs to be an element of, exploration around it. What is the truth in there? Because the truth is a multidimensional matter. And on last but not least, I would say there needs to be elements of adjustments made when it comes to your fears, whether you can confront with others, even though it looks like it's going to be a heavy conversation, for example. And because it's on Cancerian what, often it is a heavy conversation we need to have, for example, with our parents, or something which is going down in the family. So that needs to be somehow done. Well, guys, this is my um, forecast or interpretation on this upcoming new moon. Have a blessed one. Take care. Bye bye.